Today is Palm Sunday, the opening of Holy Week. Somewhere in the dust between Bethany and Jerusalem, ordinary people once carried the simplest of meals: torn bread, dried fruit, a handful of herbs, a skin of oil. Over the next 12 entries, we will walk that same road through the humble foods that sustained pilgrims, fishermen, and families in the biblical world, from hearty stews and ancient grains to sun-dried sweets and quiet plates of remembrance. Each one you can bring to your own table this week. And it all begins with the most basic meal in all of Scripture. Number 1, bread and olive oil form the heart of every biblical table. Across ancient Judea and Galilee, the day began and ended with flat loaves, simple dough hand-ground on a quern, shaped and pressed by calloused hands, then baked against the hot walls of a tabon oven. The scent of baking bread drifted through hillside villages and city courtyards alike, a promise of nourishment and peace. Bread was more than food. In Hebrew, to eat bread simply meant to eat. Oil, pressed from groves that lined the hills, was poured into clay bowls at every meal. Golden and unfiltered, it served as dip, dressing, and symbol, fuel for lamps, balm for wounds, and sign of blessing. On the road to Jerusalem, travelers tore off pieces of bread, dipping them into oil for strength and comfort. This pairing, humble, sustaining, and ever-present, welcomes Holy Week with the quiet abundance that carried generations. Every meal that follows begins with this simple act: breaking bread, sharing oil, remembering the journey. In second place, fish and bread offer a meal that echoes both miracle and daily life along the Galilean shore. Early mornings by the Sea of Galilee began with small boats gliding through mist, nets heavy with tilapia, fish so common it appears in ancient mosaics and local place names. Villages like Bethsaida and Magdala thrived on these catches, grilling whole tilapia over charcoal fires, the aroma mingling with lake air and wood smoke. Bread, often barley flatbread torn by hand, joined the fish at every meal. This simple pairing nourished crowds on the hillside, as told in the feeding of the 5,000, and later comforted weary disciples at a dawn breakfast after the resurrection. John's Gospel recalls Jesus tending a fire, offering grilled fish and bread to friends gathered on the sand. Dried fish called alec was packed for travel, but nothing matched the warmth of fresh fish shared at the water's edge. Together, fish and bread turn humble staples into a meal of provision, remembrance, and quiet abundance, filling body and spirit for the journey ahead. Third on our list, lentil stew brings the warmth and substance of the biblical countryside straight to the Easter table. In Genesis, Esau returned from the fields, exhausted and hungry, and traded his birthright for a simple bowl of red stew simmered by Jacob. That moment, filled with longing and haste, reveals how a humble pot of lentils could mean survival. Lentils stored dry in clay jars, kept for months in the cool corners of ancient homes, ready to be revived with water and fire whenever hunger pressed in. The stew itself simmered low and slow in earthen pots, onions and garlic softened in olive oil, red lentils swelling and breaking down, herbs and cumin lending depth. After nearly an hour, the pot yielded a fragrant, earthy meal thick enough to scoop with torn bread. For families in ancient Judea, this was everyday food, filling, nourishing, and quietly satisfying. Lentil stew still carries the memory of that old story, a meal that fills the body and stirs the soul, reminding us of the cost and comfort of daily bread. Number 4, the barley bowl or barley bread stands as the meal of the pilgrim and the poor. In the rocky hill country of ancient Judea, barley was the grain that grew where wheat could not. Its stalks matured early, just as spring crowds gathered for Passover in Jerusalem. Called the poor man's grain in old rabbinic texts, barley filled bellies when times were lean and fields were rough. Ground into coarse flour, it became flatbreads for travelers, or simmered into thick porridge, warm and nutty, stretching a handful of grain into a meal that endured for hours. Barley's resilience made it the first harvest of the year, a sign of hope and new beginnings after winter's scarcity. Families shared bowls of steaming barley, onions, and wild greens, each spoonful earthy and sustaining. For those journeying on foot, a barley loaf tucked into a satchel meant stamina for the road ahead. At the Holy Week table, Barley reminds us that nourishment can be simple, humble, and strong enough to carry us through any journey. Number 5. Beans and chickpeas with herbs bring a deeply satisfying, savory note to the Holy Week table. In the ancient world, broad beans and chickpeas were prized for their staying power and ease of storage. Sealed in clay jars, these dried legumes could last through long seasons, ready to be transformed into a hearty meal whenever hunger called. After soaking, they softened in simmering pots, their earthy flavors mellowed by the addition of fresh herbs like mint or dill. These bright greens did more than add aroma. They masked the dense, sometimes bitter notes of the beans, making each bite fresh and inviting. Unlike lentil stew, this dish offers a chunkier, more textured experience, often scooped up with torn bread or eaten by the spoonful. For families in biblical Judea, a bowl of herbed chickpeas or beans meant reliable strength, whether at home or on the road. The simple act of crushing herbs into warm legumes carried both comfort and a hint of spring's renewal, bridging the gap between the humble and the fragrant at the heart of every shared meal. Number 6. Garlic and onions form the aromatic backbone of biblical cooking, quietly shaping the flavor of every pot and hearth. In ancient Judea, these humble alliums were more than seasoning. They were vital, stored in braided strands hung from rafters, ready to last through lean months. Each meal often began with a handful of chopped onion and crushed garlic, sweated gently in a clay pot with a splash of olive oil. 5 minutes over the embers was enough to soften their sharpness, coaxing out a sweetness that lingered in the air and laid the foundation for stews, porridges, and breads. This simple sauté, practiced daily, turned the ordinary into the inviting, a scent that signaled warmth, nourishment, and homecoming. Numbers 11 records the Israelites' longing for the garlic and onions of Egypt, a craving rooted in memory and comfort. These flavors, so easily overlooked, bridge the savory meals of Holy Week to the gentle sweetness of dried fruits yet to come. In every kitchen, garlic and onions remind us that even the most modest foods can carry the heart of tradition and the promise of healing. Number 7. Dates and nuts stand out as the traveler's answer to hunger along the dusty roads to Jerusalem. Jericho, known since ancient times as the City of Palms, filled the valley with date groves whose fruit packed more than 60% sugar, nature's own energy bar, ready for the journey. Pilgrims slipped handfuls of dried dates into their satchels, each bite a burst of sweetness and stamina. Alongside, almonds and walnuts, gathered in the hills or from market stalls, offered rich, lasting fats that kept hunger at bay. Unlike pots of stew or fresh bread, these foods needed no fire or preparation. They could be eaten on the move, under olive trees or beside the city gates, sustaining weary feet and hopeful hearts. For families retracing the old pilgrim paths during Holy Week, a simple pouch of dates and nuts brings both comfort and connection, reminding us that even in times of haste, the land provides food that is sweet, strong, and sustaining. Figs and raisins bring a gentle sweetness that lingers quietly at the edges of the biblical table. In the heat of a Judean summer, figs ripened to bursting and were gathered by hand, then laid out on woven racks to dry in the sun. Just 2 or 3 days in the open air turned them into chewy, preserved fruit that could last through winter and lean months. Pressed into fig cakes or stacked in baskets, they offered a soft, honeyed bite when fresh fruit was long gone. Raisins made from clusters of ripe grapes dried on rooftops or stone courtyards brought their own mellow richness, sweetening bowls of porridge or eaten by the handful on the road. The phrase, "each under his own fig tree," became an ancient symbol of peace and contentment, a vision of life settled and safe. Unlike the bold energy of dates, figs and raisins offer a quiet, stored abundance, humble, patient, and always ready to nourish. Their gentle sweetness softens the journey, preparing the palate for the creamy comfort of dairy and honey to come. Number 9, honey with fresh cheese brings a gentle, festive comfort to the Holy Week table. In the hills of ancient Judea, goat's milk was heated slowly over the hearth, then cooled and cultured with a spoonful of yesterday's curds. After hours wrapped in linen, the milk thickened and drained, turning into a soft, tangy cheese, something close to labneh, or fresh farmer's cheese. This cheese, creamy and mild, was a daily staple, eaten with bread or olives. But on days of celebration, it was crowned with a drizzle of honey, poured from clay amphorae where it had rested since the last wildflower bloom. Honey, whether gathered from bees in stone hives or pressed from dates, never spoiled, its sweetness a promise that outlasted seasons. The phrase, "a land flowing with milk and honey," spoke of abundance, but also of the simple luxury found in pairing these two gifts. At the Easter table, a bowl of fresh cheese swirled with golden honey offers a pause for delight, a soothing interlude of creamy, tangy, and sweet before the more solemn flavors of bitter herbs. This ancient pairing invites both young and old to taste joy and comfort, woven quietly into the fabric of everyday faith. In the 10th place, bitter greens and herbs bring a sober note to the Easter table, echoing the ancient ritual of remembrance. During Passover, the people of Israel were commanded to eat their meal with bitter herbs, a taste meant to recall the hardship of slavery and the hope of deliverance. In the hills and fields of Judea, spring rains coaxed wild greens from the earth, hyssop, endive, wild chard, and sorrel, each with a distinct sharpness or bite. Families gathered these herbs by hand, their flavors raw and bracing, a contrast to the sweetness of honey or the comfort of bread. Hyssop, in particular, held deep meaning, not only as a food, but as a branch for sprinkling during sacred rites, a sign of cleansing and new beginnings. Eating these greens is both an act of memory and a prayer for renewal, connecting today's Holy Week with the Exodus journey. The bitterness lingers on the tongue, inviting quiet reflection before the table turns once more toward the brightness of pomegranate and the promise of Easter morning. Number 11. Pomegranate seeds bring a vivid ceremonial flourish to the Holy Week table. Their deep red color catches the light, scattering across clay plates like scattered jewels. In the ancient world, the pomegranate was more than a fruit. It was a symbol woven into the very fabric of worship. The high priest's robe, as described in Exodus, was hemmed with tiny pomegranate shapes and golden bells, each step ringing out a reminder of holiness. When the autumn harvest ended, families tucked whole fruits away in cool cellars, preserving their brightness for months. By spring, a pomegranate sliced open revealed a burst of seeds, each one a promise of renewal, righteousness, and hope. Sharing these seeds at the table becomes a quiet meditation, a moment to pause and reflect on the journey from bitterness to celebration. The pomegranate's beauty and meaning unify the meal, inviting everyone to taste both memory and blessing before the final gathering of Holy Week. In this way, the simple act of eating pomegranate seeds turns a meal into a living ritual, connecting hands, hearts, and tradition. Number 12. The roasted lamb bite brings the memory of festival tables and sacred gatherings into the heart of Holy Week. In ancient Judea, lamb was rarely eaten outside the great feasts, and most families reserved this precious meat for Passover, when each household gathered to share in the story of deliverance. A small portion of lamb, spit roasted over glowing coals, filled the air with rich aroma and marked the meal as something set apart. The meat required little more than a sprinkle of salt and a watchful hand turning it above the fire. As the fat dripped and hissed into the embers, bread was often held beneath to catch every drop, soaking up the flavor and the blessing. Eating lamb in this way was both remembrance and celebration, a taste of sacrifice, community, and new beginnings. For those bringing the ancient table to Easter, even a single bite of roasted lamb recalls the old promise that every journey through hardship leads to a feast of hope. This savory festival note rounds out the week's humble abundance, preparing the table for the gathering to come. And finally, in 13th place, the Holy Week table plate gathers the journey into a single, humble feast. At the close of the day, families in ancient Judea would sit together for their evening meal, passing small plates and sharing from a common bowl. The table was not grand, but it was full of meaning. Torn bread at the center, a sliver of roasted lamb or a small fish beside it, a handful of bitter herbs, a scoop of barley or lentil stew, a cluster of dried fruit, a spoonful of honeyed cheese, and a simple cup for water or wine. Each element carried the memory of fields, herds, and hands that prepared it. This plate invites every household to choose from the foods of the week, whatever is at hand, whatever speaks of the season, and to share it in gratitude. The act of passing and partaking, of dipping bread and offering the first bite, echoes the ancient pattern of hospitality and remembrance. In this way, the Holy Week table becomes more than a meal. It becomes a living tradition, uniting past and present, and inviting all to taste the quiet abundance of faith, memory, and renewal. Across all 12 meals, one pattern endures. Ordinary foods, chosen with care, invite us into sacred time. Simple grains, fruits, and honey offer more than nourishment. They ground us in memory, calm, and quiet faith. These ancient staples are not relics. They are a living tradition, binding past and present at the table. In their simplicity, we find renewal. Which meal speaks most to your heart? Share your thoughts below.